Hello, everyone. This is another episode of my channel and podcast dedicated to managing better. Why manage better? Managing better is all about doing better every day, all the time, keep improving. There is, of course, more to this, but I will save it for another podcast or another session. Today, I'm very excited to bring to you one of India's finest minds in quality and quality applications. Right? He's both a friend and a guide to me and to thousands of quality professionals in India. Um, Quite difficult to find his time, so I'm delighted that he's agreed to be with us today. And let me introduce you to Hemant Urdureshe. Hemant is a passionate quality professional and a fellow of the American Society for Quality. Hemant led quality, engineering, and reliability functions, and I truly admire his passion for reliability more than anything because there are very few people across the world who continue to remain focused on reliability. He was with Cummins for over 28 years, if I'm not wrong. And most striking is that he holds multiple certifications from the American Society for Quality, ASQ, and amongst them, most notable is that he's probably India's first ASQ black belt and first ASQ master black belt. So those of you who have done both black belt and master black belt from ASQ, you are meeting your pioneer or the path breaker of sorts. Um, he's also received the Kimpro Foundation Silver Standard in 2003, and later on, very recently in 2018, the CIA DL Shah Quality Champion Award. Hemant has founded, in the last several years, he has founded and now operates the Institute of Quality and Reliability in Pune, India. And the primary objective of this organization is to spread the knowledge and message of quality across clients in India, and of course also to encourage individuals to seek certification and get forward, get better on their quality journey. Hemant has authored a book on Six Sigma and co-authored a book on TQM. Interestingly, I used his TQM book while teaching an MBA class a few years ago and thoroughly enjoyed the content and the examples and the exercises that he was able to put together. Hemant has trained thousands of quality professionals to seek ASQ certifications, like I said. And another interesting fact about Hemant is that he runs a quality related technical channel on YouTube. And more interestingly, he runs a music channel on YouTube. So those of you who have not seen this side of Hemant, I totally urge you to check his music channel. He's one of the few people who play accordion really well. And if you are a Hindi music lover, particularly old Hindi music songs, and you love music instruments, this is the place to be. So that's another side of Hemant. He's also very passionate about chess. So there are many facets for Hemant, but I'll not stand between you and Hemant now any further. And let me bring Hemant to you. So Hemant, any opening comments from you, please?
Yeah, thank you very much, Anshuman. Thank you. And I'm really overwhelmed with the introduction that you gave, actually. And I recalled so many things that have happened in last so many years. So thank you very much for your introduction. And I appreciate your time and commitment to this kind of a podcast, sharing knowledge and spreading the message of quality with all your viewers and listeners. So thanks a lot for inviting me here.
Thanks, Hemant. Thank you very much. And let's get going. I checked with a few people as to what we would like to know from you, right? So among the questions that was top of the charts was, what is your definition of quality? We all know that, there are several definitions of quality, and sometimes we get lost into definitions, but I would like to really know that what is your definition of quality?
Yeah, that's you have asked a very difficult question right at the beginning. So it's like a new ball in cricket, shining with full speed coming. I remember Wesley Hall coming in and bowling and so on and so forth. But I would probably recall definitions of the great gurus rather than my own definition. So let us talk about Juran's definition, which says quality is fitness for use, and then you have conformance to requirements uh, from another expert, quality guru, Philip Crosby. And then we have Taguchi's definition, which is loss to quality, loss to society after the product is shipped. While these all definitions are good, sometimes I feel that the Taguchi definition is something that drives actions. I mean, loss to society drives actions, and moreover, it's more you can say inclusive. You can say nowadays we
Hmm.
talk about those things. So it beyond the customer, it also includes the society in general. So philosophically, I'm inclined to go for that definition, that society is included in the part of quality. Because suppose somebody makes a car which has got higher emissions, which are on the boundary line of the specifications, that's still a good quality and meets the requirements, but society in general would lose in the long run.
Sure, yeah.
So I would say that's more encompassing, inclusive definition of quality, and it drives actions. There is a whole philosophy of Taguchi's robust design and tolerance design and design of experiments, and what sometimes is called as offline quality control.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a worthwhile area to explore. I think not much has been done, especially in India, on that field. And you're right. Um, what use or Juran and Deming's definitions around quality have to be extended to society as such, right? So there can be something very useful, fit to purpose, fit to use, but it may be leading to some loss to society, and that overall view Taguchi provided. So yeah, thanks, Hemant. Moving on. I've known you for some years, and I've been very fascinated with how you would have got into quality, because all of us have a quality career story, right? So how did we get into quality? Most of the time, it was never by design, right? So you are of course more senior to me, but in our peer group also we find that everybody has a quality career story. So what's your quality career story, and a little bit about how you moved into running an institute of your own? So just for
Yeah, that's an important and interesting question. I didn't start my career in quality as such. I After graduation as a mechanical engineer, I joined Kirloskar Cummins then. Now it is called Cummins India Limited. So I joined as a trainee engineer, and after completing my training, I worked there as a process engineer for about 10 years. So my core experience, the in the formative years, is in process design, process planning, manufacturing engineering, machining processes. And Cummins makes diesel engines, so it was in the components related to diesel engines and also the assembly of those components and diesel engines. So that's my starting core experience. But then it was our boss, Mr. R.V. Ramachandran, who was the managing director of Cummins, who thought that quality should be built in rather than inspected. So he was of that opinion, a strong opinion that quality should be built in. So he thought that why not bring a process engineer who have worked in core processes, manufacturing processes, and shift him to quality, so that the quality people move their approach to quality built in. So that was the whole idea behind my moving to quality. So I was on one fine morning, I was given Juran's handbook by Mr. Ramachandran, and he said, "This is your Bible." And that was a kind of a, I won't say shock, but it was a pleasant surprise to me, that but I didn't know what is to be done in quality at that moment. So I just took the Bible and took his message and objectives of my moving to quality built in. So Duran's handbook was my first interaction with quality, thanks to Mr. Ramachandran. And then I took charge as quality control head of shop floor, and then metrology, and then so many things happened over a period of time. Later on, I was given responsibility to implement what is called as Cummins Total Quality System at Cummins India. So Cummins TQS is actually a great golden opportunity to learn. It was a golden opportunity to learn the core knowledge of quality processes. And the Cummins TQS system came from no other than Armand Feigenbaum, who is a very well-known
Yeah.
quality guru. So he had supported or helped Cummins Global to formulate that total quality system. So I was given a responsibility to implement that in our plant in at Kothur, Pune in India, and that changed my perspective. Then it also required us to map our skill levels to the world class level. So that was the time when I moved to ASQ certifications, mapping our skill levels, and it was a major realization that how much we don't know in the quality techniques, technology, statistical process control, quality control, design of experiments, and so on. So we came to know that we don't know most of it. So that was a that was a major realization. While I worked on processes, of course, quality was still we had a primitive knowledge, I would say, of all the quality techniques, statistical quality control, and so on. So we had a statistics professor came coming in and teaching us all those skills, and many of us got certified into ASQ certifications. CQE was our first initiative for the quality certifications, and then we also moved to certified mechanical inspectors and so on. So that was the time when I learned all the basics, and I tried to implement whatever I learned immediately after I learned, and tried to practice, implement whether it works in reality or what should be done in real life situations. So that was also a major opportunity to learn and gather experience in this area. So that was the time, and because I realized that how much we don't know after the ASQ certification and the TQS implementation, I thought that this is also essential to it is also essential to share this knowledge with others in the industry as well as individuals. So it was in 2005 that I left Cummins to spread this message and started this Institute of Quality and Reliability, which still continues to share knowledge with companies as well as individuals. We have been working with many companies and individuals for spreading this message.
No, thanks, Hemant, and quite an interesting journey. And uh, Mr. Ramchandran is common to us, because he was the first chairman of Kimpro as well, where I started my
Correct.
quality career.
Yeah.
So there is he's probably the only person in India who rose to CEO level from quality backgrounds, right? So
Absolutely.
yeah, he's we a lot of us are kind of we owe our careers to somebody like him and people
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Mr. Lula and others. So moving on, you are very well known in the industry across India for solving problems from a chronic problems from a Six Sigma tools application point of view, right? So as you pointed out that you were trying to use everything that you were learning so that the learning is far more deeper and stronger, and that's some of the when I ask people about you, that comes up that if a problem is not getting solved, call him. He will find a way. So I'm sure you have tons of stories around that. But what would be your most favorite story around solving a long-standing problem using some tool application, quality tool applications?
Yeah. Thank you, Anshuman, for asking that question. I don't know solutions to many problems, but I did have opportunity to solve many problems, and I don't think it was me alone. It was me along with all our team members and colleagues. With their help, we could solve many difficult problems. One of the first problems that I remember, this may not be the problem, but we had a problem on certain types of gear pumps that we made in Cummins, and we had some issues about the delivery of those pumps. It requires certain amount of fuel to deliver to the pumps in Cummins system. So we were facing a lot of rework on that. about maybe probably 20% rework. And why I'm mentioning this problem is that was one of the first problems where I actually tried the design of experiments as a technique,
Mm.
and got some very interesting results. So what we thought as the possible root cause was not the root cause. We found something different when we actually did the experimentation. So whatever we feel, because of our technical knowledge, we have our own biases. So we have to keep our biases apart and gather some knowledge using the experimentation, statistical methods, and that gives us a strong clue to the solutions. So that was one of the first ones. The other problem that I would like to recall is on cylinder heads. And I remember again Mr. Ramachandran, whom we had early morning meetings at 6:45 a.m. in Cummins those days. So it was at least most of us thought that as a torture that time. Early morning 6:45, going there and having a cup of tea, pohas, and then starting the meeting at 7 sharp.
Mm.
And of course, Mr. Ramachandran would be there maybe 10 minutes before us. So we did, we couldn't complain also. So anyway, so we had a tough problem that was not getting solved. Something to do with the cylinder head runout, concentricity, or geometrical accuracies. So the issue was, I don't want to go into the technical details of the problem, but basically the solution came from one of our quality inspectors who had certain observations, and he said that we are finding some distortions in the cylinder head after assembly. And that was the clue that he mentioned. And then we checked the components before assembly, after assembly, on the coordinate measuring machines, compared the results, and did some statistical analysis of two sample t-tests or whatever we knew at that point of time. And then we could really get a solution. And before that, we had actually installed a full-fledged CNC boring machine or a machining center to machine those components, which was kind of expensive process. We moved our process from a conventional machine to CNC machine,
Mm.
but we didn't get the solution. But after implementing the action based on the suggestion from our inspectors, we could actually move back to our older machine, reduce the cost again, and we found a solution as to what was going wrong there. And then there are many other problems like certain failure of gears, and then failures of camshafts in field. On the camshaft, I would like to make a special mention because it was one of the toughest ones to solve. So this was a global issue on the camshaft failures, and we had taken so-called a design for Six Sigma project. I was head of product engineering at that point of time in Cummins. Actually, I had moved to engineering then. So we had taken up. I was the sponsor for that project, for the design for Six Sigma project, and one of our very good engineers took up the challenge. And then we found a solution. The learning there was use a lot of computer power, apply all the stress analysis techniques and field trials and innovative ideas. So we found a great solution, and the project actually won the global chairman's award. By then I had left Cummins and started this Institute of Quality, but the project leader came to my house to give the sweets and T-shirt and all that because he got recognized world over. So
Yeah.
that's another problem. There are so many, but
No, no,
time I think we limit.
yeah, but I like how you gave a spectrum of, and then from your vast experience and hundreds and maybe even thousands of problems solved. The first one was more around finding a clue. The second was more about people. The third was more about technology. And this is how problems are solved, right? There is no one body of knowledge that solves any problem. As long as we are willing to remain open to new ideas, new methods, new technologies, most problems in can be solved. And the other interesting part I find is that, and this is something I lament today, is that your problems are hardcore manufacturing industry problems. That is the core of the industry, right? Many of us are just busy doing histograms and Pareto on some very simple service industry projects, which I don't regret, but we forget that the heart of the industry is in manufacturing. So glad that you brought up those examples. Um, Moving on, Hemant, and as I mentioned in my introduction, from what I know, and you can confirm this, that you are probably India's first ASQ certified black belt, and also India's first ASQ certified master black belt. So, any thoughts on how you stumbled upon this, and secondly, related question would be that what advice would you give to students who are preparing for, and I use students as a general word. Anybody who's appearing for an exam is a student, who's appearing for these exams. Any piece of advice?
That's an interesting question again. See, this I mentioned about the Cummins total quality system earlier and mapping of skills. That actually led to our certified quality engineer certification first. That was our first certification. Then we trained all our quality inspectors, large numbers for the certified mechanical inspector. Now ASQ calls it certified quality inspector, but then it was CMI,
Yes,
yeah,
CMI.
certified mechanical inspector. It was at that point of time. So after that, when I moved on in Cummins, then they based on my TQS and CQE experience, I got involved into the Six Sigma implementation at Cummins, and I got some training in Six Sigma. It was a sponsors training, but then I also did some projects at Cummins, and ASQ announced in 2000, I think ASQ announced the Six Sigma Black Belt certification first time. They wrote to me as a ASQ member, and I decided to appear for this exam. I realized that there is a significant overlap between the CQE and Black Belt, so I appeared for that. It was at Chennai that I wrote the Black Belt exam. And since I was the only one in India and most probably somewhere within Asia also, definitely one single participant in India. So I got certified as a black belt. Before that, I also had a certified quality manager. Again, my TQS and other implementation was a great foundation for all these
Correct.
certifications. So the formal training was only from that statistics professor earlier. Other than that, I think a lot of it I owe to the Cummins experience in terms of TQS implementation and quality assurance processes at our company. Later on in 2005, I got certified reliability engineer because I was in engineering and doing a lot of work related to reliability. I was also head of functional excellence for reliability in Cummins there. So I decided to get certified as reliability engineer, which also I did in 2005. And later on, when I started this Institute of Quality and Reliability, then in 2010, ASQ announced the Master Black Belt certification. So
Correct.
again, I decided to take it, and I was the only one taking in India and Asia. That's what the ASQ officials told me. So I got certified as a Master Black Belt then. Of course, MBB is a different kind of certification because you have to get your profile or portfolio approved before you even qualify for the exam. So that was the MBB certification. So I think a lot of it came from my experience and the foundation skills that I had received through Cummins training, the TQS implementation, and the CQE training, etc., etc. Uh, to go further on this, what I would recommend to those who want to take the ASQ exam, I don't see ASQ certifications as a kind of the final destination or objective. I would say that all these certifications, they have some differences between each of them, and each of the certification has got a different value, I would say. But there is
Hmm.
a significant overlap. But finally, everyone should look at these certifications as gathering knowledge and using it for making your lives better, making your organization's quality improvement, quality better, products better, services better, whatever you learn, you start applying and see how it works. Sometimes you may not succeed, but often the techniques work. If technique one doesn't work, try technique two or whatever it is, whatever it takes. So implementation and using it for the betterment of the company, your own career, is something that I value more than
These
passing
sort of,
the exam itself. That's what I would say. Preparation of exam, of course, is a technical part. Everybody knows those. You have to do a lot of rigorous study. You have to think of going back to your college days, etc., etc. So that kind of a mindset is required taking the SQ exams.
no, very well put. I think and I'll totally loved your humility that you don't give much credence to that you were the first and the path bearer for many of us. But the application point that you brought in and to be fair, once you've applied, and in your case as well, because you had done the TQS implementation at Cummins, any certification became easier because you had already done most of the things that the exam would seek from a student, and that's usually the key for people, listeners. If you are doing something, the exam is only a formality. If you're not doing it, exam is very, very difficult, and then it becomes a burden. I get a lot of questions on whether I should do green belt and whether I should do black belt and all. And my first question is, why do you want to do it, and what do you actually do? Right? The certification is different. What do you actually do? If you have no relation to any of these things, certifications, or your work doesn't include, the certification is going to be a piece of paper.
Yeah, sure. It's
And
only on that day that you get a satisfaction, you get happiness. But from next day onwards, you are again going back to your work and doing something that you have been doing.
that is not related to it.
But that should change after the certification and learning. I mean, the way you're doing things should change after you learn something new. That's
Yeah.
what I would say.
So moving on to my last question, which I always ask all my guests, is that for our listeners, what would be the one quality book that you would recommend? And since I know you very well, maybe you have an option of going for two quality books, maybe.
You are giving me
Very
a
difficult choice.
very tight limit specifications, I would say, and I can't meet that tolerance. Well, the first book is not actually in the regular sense. It's not a quality book. It's actually the 7 Habits of the Highly Effective People,
Hmm.
and it is basically quality of leadership or quality of ethical leadership, and that's from Stephen Covey. Why I mention that is I had a very major influence because of this book. Not only the book, I also attended a complete training of 5 days residential training of this 7 Habits of the Highly Effective People, and it gave a major realization that again. Like the TQS and other things I said, we come to know how much we don't know. Again, the similar experience in the leadership
That's
training,
one.
the Stephen Covey Institute training in 1991 or 92, I think it was in Cummins. So you get a major realization there that what is this leadership about, and what are these 7 habits of the highly effective people, how they influence the others. So there is a personal victory and then there is a public victory. So two parts it's divided, and then there is a sharpening saw. You realize that unless you keep your body fit, you are not going to deliver anything. So that's another realization. There is a mental peace, or there are so many things that are
Yeah.
discussed there. So 7 habits is something that I would very strongly recommend to anyone, whether quality or any other field, it doesn't matter. The second book, since you gave me limitation of 2 books, I would again use an or there, like
Hmm.
the exam.
Sure, sure.
So of course, the Juran's book comes to my mind because that was the first one, and it's close to my heart because that was given to me at the start of my quality journey. And so it's a Bible to all those who want to learn about quality skills, techniques, philosophy, everything. That's a complete, very thick book. So it's not like reading a book. Actually, it's a reference book. So
Reference
any
book. Yeah.
any day you need some reference of anything in quality, you just open that book and you get it. So it's kind of encyclopedia of quality. So that's Juran's handbook. As as another one, I would also say that the Keki Bhote's book on world class quality is also an excellent reference for Shenin tools. along with Montgomery's book and other things. So these are some books that come to my mind when you ask question about quality books or books that I
Sure.
recommend.
No, I'm so glad that you mentioned Keki Bothe's book also, because that's an area which many quality professionals don't explore much, and there is a sea of knowledge there, and the tools are actually, once you understand it, they are more user friendly than the regular tools.
They are
So
kind of very easy to understand and implement at shop floor also. Everybody can understand
correct.
these tools easily. That's the benefit of
Yeah, I
those
mean,
tools.
simple things like the pre-control and other things are pretty
Absolutely.
very easy to implement, and they are based on very sound statistical principles, but the
Yes.
application is fairly simple and straightforward. So thank you, Hemant. I think we will bring this episode to an end. Thank you very much for your time, and listeners. I hope you enjoyed this session with Hemant, and his charming personal style of bringing stories to life, and please remember that you can bring stories to life only if you have stories. So he has a wealth of experience in quality and related fields which he brings. As I said, I totally love the fact that he still focuses on reliability. We need more people in those fields, and will continue to need those things. With that, I'll end this episode. Thank you for watching. And as you know, we now host these, put up these sessions on YouTube as a podcast. So the choice is yours as a consumer, how you want to consume this information. Keep watching, keep listening, and till then, manage better. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Anshuman, for inviting me into this forum. Thanks a lot. It was
Thank you, sir.
enjoyable having a conversation with you on quality. Thanks.
Same here.
Thanks.